Hi guys, so today I was asked a question, how come they did such a bad job covering all this stuff with this Windows thing? It's not like they were very good in rebuilding and reconstructing, but what they do is step by step uh, erasing of the evidence. They cover up with the false windows, they put some bricks inside the windows and just completely nivellate them, so you cannot see them anymore, but you can see them if you look how the wall is painted, like you see some frame, X-frame of the window on the bricks. Also what they doing is concreting the place. If it's very low underground and you cannot see the window, they just pour concrete in and cover it with asphalt. So most of the buildings are covered this way. So this is probably one of the main reasons they are not very good, because there's too many buildings to cover up, too many places to cover up. And the idea of covering this thing is not like a very common thing. So when you engage in this interaction, when you engage in excavation, you sooner or later find out that it's very expensive and so many human resources supposed to be used to just excavate the building. So, but when you have it in the mid-level, when you see that just the top of the window, why not just erase the amount of the volume of the window, make it smaller, and still have the exit to the air, so you don't have to do any ventilation shafts and stuff like this, because it's very expensive to use those underground facilities, because it's water, it's humidity, like when you have very wet walls and all this plaque and all this stuff, so it's just impossible. When you think about building a two-story building and thinking of building a underground basement floor and a second floor, which is just the first floor in America, you still have a two-story building. But is it more expensive than to build a two-story building without no underground facility? Of course it is. So why do you have to do a basement floor? It doesn't make any sense, because for me, just for the person who is really aware of what economics is, what is to contain a business, contain anything like close to making money, I know what the expense look like, and probably those people also knew it, and they knew how to lower the costs of the restoration, all this stuff. So they did the best they can do, just to use the facilities and at the same time lower the cost of restoration. Although it's just unimaginable discomfortation, no comfort in using all this. Usability is very bad in using those windows, because still the rain can pour inside the window, and there's no way the water be so fast to leave this window place and stuff like this. So they upgraded it from time to time. They doing some mini roofs to the windows, so the water will be flowing out of the window, out of that wall. So we have many examples of how they did it, and of course we know the information about the architectural design and the laws of architectural design at that time, which were talking about building the buildings inside the basement floor to lower the cost to heat the place. But it doesn't make sense anyways, because you have more costs at reparation of this containment of the water, because you have to do it. In Russia we have plenty of snow, and the snow comes down in the spring, and the water flows right into your basement, and you have like 6 feet deep of water inside your 10 feet or 12 feet deep high basement floor. So it's like half flooded with the water each spring and summer. So what's the use of it? Maybe if you have a dry area when it's on the top of a hill or something like this, when you don't have so much snow contained in this area, maybe it's cheaper to do that. But still, I don't feel the economic purpose of doing the basement floors in any other landscape unless it's a dry place. Also have got many questions on the mudflood players, which so globalists, nationalists, religious mafia, and banksters, financial mafia. And most of the people don't understand why is China in the globalist player team, and why is Russia so tied to China in previous years. Well, that's because we have the break of a paradigm inside the Western world, which already had been broken in China, because communists plus liberals are the same team. If you know what I'm saying. Globalism is not only capitalism, it also can be done in a communist way. That's why it's just the same players, the same team, but they play in different parts of the game. Because game is broken to the original chessboard, and we see each square is filled with the battle of all the players. And we also play the bridge game, which was designed to exactly for China and Britain, which was supposed to be out of the game for pretty much half a century. So the Britain wanted to engage another game with the different rules, and that's why they proposed the bridge game, not the chess game as it used to be played. And in several decades they were playing bridge. And right now we have 4 teams consisting of several teams have several players, and several teams have single player. In fact, United States was played by globalists, reincarnation of this game, and right now it's played by Trump, who is a conservative nationalist player. So who knows what is going to happen next, who's going to be the next president, who's going to stay in power for several more years, and what is going to be bringing US too. But what we now see is standing on the pathway to the conservative previous paradigm that we had in 80s and 90s, which is a lot better than what we have today, because current paradigm and globalist paradigm leads us to capitalism, which I've been describing as the community of several huge metropolises or capitals, financial, regional capitals and stuff like this. So like London, Moscow, Tokyo, New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, and probably that's it. So maybe a little bit more towns like Hong Kong and Singapore in the Middle East, in the Far East, like Beijing and Shanghai and stuff like this. So that's probably the game of the capitals, when we have regional capitals and the world financial capitals like New York and London staying on the top in this capitals race. And this is capitalism, which was brought us by those who made the position of the capital world. And the same thing is done by the communists, which are doing pretty much the same, but they may be leveling up the capital with the human power, human resource. For them, the capital is the engagement of the human resources, because human resources convert into more effective way of establishing the capital. If you want to establish the capital, you can engage the people to build it in far less time when you do it in capitalism, because in capitalism you have to pay for your job, and in communism you don't have to pay nothing. You just point your gun at the crowd and the crowd works. That's it. It's just the global enslavement system, which is far more globalist than capitalism. That's why capitalism was more attractive to the people of the Western world. They saw it every day, and everyday routine view of capitalism was intriguing and propaganda in this situation, and people from the communist worlds looked at it in different movies, news and media bombardment that they had, and thought that capitalism was very good. And that's why we start changing the system in the socialist and the communist worlds, and pretty much right now we have China as a globalist capitalist player number one, US as a global ready to go military structure policeman, and the tough guy of the casino where nobody can win. London as a brain and the heart of capitalistic financial system with Rothschilds and central banking headquarters, and pretty much that's it. That's the formed team, which is controlled by player number one and player number two, which are religious mafia and the bankster world, and they control the globalists as they control the puppets of their own systems, of their own players, like they control Catholics and Protestants, like they control Mormons, just exactly the same way they control the globalists through the agents, through the double agents and stuff like this. So, and financials controlling everybody, controlling the player number two, player number three, and player number four itself. And that's why you can find the financial hands inside the nationals. That's why you can find financial hands, financial bankster, dark engagement in globalist actions, and that's why people don't understand the difference, because pretty much the same. They control all as the puppets, and player number one owns the casino where everybody plays bridge, chess, whatever the game they want to play. So that's why it looks this way, and that's why it looks like everything is bought by those player number ones. And player number twos are also interaction, and they also play under control player number one. But they play in several rules, and they have to obey the rules. If they lose as a player number one, or as a player number two, as a player number three, or as a player number four, you might as well lose this game. And if you lose it, you lose it. That's the rules of the game. Okay.